Alright, so I had a lot of you guys asking me about my senior trip that you guys wanted to me to make a video, so here it is. Alright, the original timeline to leave was we get at the school at Saturday at midnight, so Saturday evening I was just staying up until midnight so I can get to the school and get together. So we took about a 3-hour bus ride on a school bus in the middle of the night. It was mostly really cold and bumpy. I was in the back. We get there between about 4 and 5 Eastern time, about between 3 and 4 their time in Chicago. When it came time for us to check in our luggage, the people who were supposed to run the booth weren't there, so we were there waiting about an hour. When it came time for us to actually check in our luggage, there hardly was enough time to get us through. They were going so slow, and there was a group of us that almost didn't make it on a plane. The plane ride to Atlanta and the trip at Atlanta, Atlanta was really smooth. We didn't really have to do much except to have to go from one place to the other in the Atlanta airport, which wasn't too bad. A couple of us got food, although I had gotten food earlier, so it wasn't me. We arrived in Santo Domingo sometime in the afternoon. I don't remember exactly when. But when we got there, we met up with the SCORE people and took 2 of their buses to the SCORE complex, which is where we stayed for the time we were there. As soon as we got there, we unloaded our luggage and immediately got dinner and ate dinner. Then we had the thing about the rules, just a little meeting about the rules, who they are, stuff like that. After that, it was getting a little bit later, starting to get dark, and we were able to get in our rooms. During that evening's free time, I threw for a game of pool jackpot. Since most of us stayed up the whole night, most of us really just went to bed really quick. So the next day was actually Monday, sorry. On Monday, we went to 2 sugarcane villages. We woke up, got breakfast. Of course, I don't remember what was for breakfast or any of the other meals. But what I know is that we left for the first sugarcane village. Once we got to it, we tried to gather a couple of the kids to go to church so we could do our little VBS thing with them. We did the whole VBS, sang our 2 songs, talked about it, did the translation stuff. Then we went to a little, whatchamacallit, one of those things in a park, but it was had a shade thing. There we played a game where you try to grab the cup first, which is interesting. I would say the children's response was pretty good for the first sugarcane village. Then we went back to the SCORE complex to have our lunch because it was one of those days we could go back. And then we would go out to another sugarcane village. And there we would deal with many more kids. There were a lot more kids this time. And some of them were a little bit odd. They were a little bit riled up. Not really odd, but riled up. We tried to speak, but a lot of kids were climbing trees, distracting us, things like that. There were kids of all ages. The ones who were listening did get to listen, and hopefully their lives were at least it was like a spark in their lives. One of the kids actually wanted me to run with him on my back. So That was exhausting, but fun. The kid really loved it. And then there was another kid that wanted me to hold him on his shoulders, or no, on my back as well. So we ran around in the field for a while, and then we went back to the score complex and ate dinner. And then almost all of us got in the pool that night, and we had a blast. Of course, that was after our message that we had. And then we all went to bed. Now for Tuesday, we were told we were going to be gone from the score complex all day until the evening. The place we went was a place called Nellie's Place, where this lady, who was probably middle-aged or something, tried to give these kids a Christ education or something like that. And she would pour her life into these kids, unlike anyone else I've ever seen. She was literally gone through so much, yet she has created this program so that the kids that she brings up won't have to go through the same things that she dealt with. Part of us helped construct a little thing so that they could have shade in the place where they were at, while the rest of us did the VBS with the younger kids in the morning. And then we took them out to the beach, actually, which it was so beautiful on the beach. And we had so much fun there, too. When we got back to Nellie's Place, we actually took off and went to like a shoreside park or something like that and had some lunch on some benches. When we got back, we went to a couple of homes to pray over the people in those homes because they all were going through some really rough times and really rough lives. One of these ladies looked like she was in her 50s, and she was a single mom in like a 2-room house, not very sturdy. You could mostly call it like a hut. She had 5 children, and somehow she took care of it. She couldn't get a real job, and it just really was heartbreaking. It really was. While we were in there, it did do a slight downpour, and then it was done by the time we were done. We prayed for her, and she was very encouraged in her faith because she was a believer. When we got back to Nellie's Place, we got an older group of kids. So we did the VBS thing again. The crafts, the music, the message, the game. I don't even remember what game we did. I think we almost did the cup game every time now. But we also did other games too. On our way back to the square complex, we actually went to the store for a little bit. I bought a pack of gummies and got some of their cash back. It was interesting being there. When we got back, of course, we had dinner, and then it was pool time again. Well, actually, not quite. We had another service where young adults got to lead worship. Those young adults who were there, just staying there for the time being. They shared opportunities through a specific university to get interactive with SCORE and come back maybe to do more missionary work. So that night was just to help us understand what they do and what they're for and stuff like that. So that night was another good pool night. We all blasted in the pool again. So that day, I actually got sunburned pretty bad. So the rest of the days, I was just trying to heal. I did not use sunblock until the lunchtime. So, yeah, I did not feel great. But yeah, I still served and served strong. So yeah, Tuesday was one of our harder days, I'd say. but it was also one of the better days, especially for a lot of us. So on Wednesday, we would go out, well, have breakfast first, and then go out to a place called Emmanuel House, which is like a school for underprivileged or kids with mental disabilities. Once we got there, we had two separate groups. First, we had a group that went out and prayed to a couple of homes. And actually, one of the people in the homes actually gave their life to Christ. Amen. It was so worth it. I wasn't with them, but I heard about it, and I heard it was just a great time. I should have been there. But instead, I was with the other group who was playing with the kids, doing a couple sporty things with balls and stuff. And also, we would go and do the VBS thing to all the classrooms that they had. One of the greatest things there was how much benefit came from that. Plus, it had only been open 20 years at this point, 20, 25 years-ish. And it was already a full-fledged school, which is just crazy to me. After that, we actually went back to Skora and had lunch, just like Monday. And then we went back out to a church where we handed out meals for women and their families because the men just don't really take part there. There's like very little percentage of men who actually are still in their families. But a bunch of us would pray over those that got the meals. And then we took their kids and took them out to the baseball field because baseball's really big down there. So we played Americans versus Dominicans, and that was fun. I think it was about a tie. Well, the rest of us just sat and talked with the other Dominicans that didn't take part or other Americans. I'm not really sporty, so I didn't really take part in the whole baseball game, so I was just there recording the stuff and just having fun. Once we got back, we did have dinner. And then I can't remember what day this is, but during one of the free times, we tried to play soccer on the street there. On the Skora complex. And then we had another message night. And then we basically had free time in the pool and went to bed. For Thursday, we got up for breakfast and we knew it was going to be another all day long sort of trip. So we packed up all of our lunch stuff along with the other stuff that we had. And we went to a church. Well, first of all, we actually went to the wrong church of this guy's because he has like 4 churches that he goes to. So we went to the right one then. There, about half of us built a fence, and for the first part, about half of us were just standing in the shade and talking. There were a couple kids on the street that we tried to talk to, but of course Spanish barrier, a little bit hard for someone that doesn't really speak much Spanish. At the time we were expecting kids to show up at some point, but kids never showed up that day. Instead we just had hard work and we ate lunch there, and we continued to work on the fence, which is when I really started to help out with that. Otherwise, that was an interesting day and very interesting, yeah. That day we really had to use our core value of the trip, which is joyfully flexible. Be joyfully flexible because things are going to change. So that evening, we got back to the Skora complex, ate dinner, had a little bit of free time, went back and did another message. Well, it wasn't really a message. We talked with the leaders of this score location, and they were really neat, and they told us their whole story, and we asked a bunch of questions. Again, that evening, shoot. Yeah, it was just another pool night. So the next day, Friday, we were going to have as a resort day. We had to switch around a couple resorts, but actually, the resort we went to was probably a better choice. It was only 5 minutes away, and it was so nice. We could get as much food as we wanted, have as much beach time or pool time as we wanted, and oh my goodness, it was so good. The only rule, you had to travel in groups of 3. That evening, we just had like a closeout night with the meeting up that evening, and we got letters from some of you. After that, we did have some free time, and then we went to bed. I think a lot of us were a little bit riled up after that night, since we knew it was the last night, and the next day we'd get to go home. So the next day, we learned that our flight has been postponed because of they had to switch planes because of maintenance issues with the one plane. So with that, I did have a hard time with that, but we turned out being okay. When we got into Atlanta late at night, we had to wait around for an hour or two. We got accommodations in a hotel, which we only had about 3 hours to sleep. I slept for about an hour and a half of it because that's about as much as I could sleep. Otherwise, that morning, I took a flight home and got back at around 1:30ish, 1:10, 1:30ish, something around there. 1:10, 1:15 actually. And I came home and I'm back. Some key highlights: I got to meet a guy from Belgium at the resort, and I asked to pray for him because he did refuse, but I prayed for him by myself about his faith, and I just felt really convicted that day. Also, a couple of other things. The security on the way back was a lot worse than the security on the way there. I say I don't like airport security one bit, especially for international flights. Another short, quick, and fun story is that one time when we were playing pool jackpot, one of the guys was throwing it back to the thrower, who is out of the pool, and it actually goes through an open window into a room. So we actually had to get one of the people who work there, or who is just there, yeah, he works there, to go get it for us. Because we just wanted it back. Anyways, I'm so sorry for the length of this video. I know it's really long. But this is the whole story. Thanks for watching.